and Mr. D'Angelo. Today is Thursday, September 2nd. Mr. Riley.
Your Honor, good morning. Again, the Appellate Court, Scott Riley, Joe Foreman, on behalf of Stanley Ford. I'm going to review all prior motions and objections, especially but not limited to our objection to the joinder and our motion for severance. And I think today is really more important because Mr. Weber with the fire marshal is going to testify today regarding both 2016 and 2017. So we renew those objections in our opposition to any 404B.
Thank you. Your motion's overruled based on my previous rulings. For the record, I want to go over the procedures that we have put in place regarding what we will do have done and going forward in this trial. All 12 jurors in the first 12 are seated in the jury box. They are masked at all times. They are separated there's plexiglass between each of them, and then there's plexiglass in front of the jury box separating them from the rest of the courtroom. Counsel and those participating are wearing masks at all times unless and until they are speaking. Witnesses are entering the courtroom through the door from my main chambers and are entering with masks. Once they are sworn and seated, they are removing their masks, and no witness will testify with the mask on. This is a conversation, again, that we had at the start of the trial before we started, because I believe the defense was prepared to ask for a continuance if I was not going to proceed with this procedure, And I just want to reiterate all of that on the record each day. So, Mr. LaPrinzi, are you in agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Gorman?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And then we'll incorporate everything that you said yesterday and in the past regarding what we've done every day leading up to today. Furthermore, Mr. Ford, you know you have a right to not wear a mask. If you don't want to wear a mask and you want to wear a face shield, I have a clear face shield. I have those. You also have the right to wear the cotton mask that you've been wearing since we started testimony. Do you understand that?
I do, Your Honor.
And you choose to continue to wear the cotton mask?
I do, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Yesterday, the report that we had Detective Hall go get, I thought I had kept a copy. I didn't. I must have thrown it away. I think it's important for me to mark that as a court's exhibit and include that in the record so that we can show that that was provided.
That's fair.
I want to make sure you see that it's the same one. Oh, I believe you.
All right, so
How do you check the emails?
I'll provide that to the court reporter so she can include that with the record.
Mr. Riley obviously doesn't.
All right.
I know you looked at page 3, but I don't think you looked at page 2.
No, I didn't.
I also want to put on the record that my procedures going forward, I believe, are in an effort to, A, comply with the mandates that have been in place regarding mask mandates in all county buildings that have been put forward by County Executive Eileen Shapiro, as well as the administrative order issued by Amy Corrigal-Jones, the administrative judge of the Summit County Common Pleas Court, with 2 exceptions that I've already enumerated. And I believe that is because Mr. Ford's constitutional rights regarding confrontation and due process outweigh these mandates, and it is appropriate for us to proceed in this fashion. That being said, that's this afternoon, Mr. Weber, right? So we could probably, again, talk about it if you all want some additional time to think about it over the break.
I think we're all right with what the court's suggesting.
Okay, so in an effort, again, to address and safety protocols regarding COVID, there is a investigator Weber from the Ohio State Fire Marshals who was subpoenaed to be present today at 2 o'clock for testimony. The state of Ohio has informed the court that his child had tested positive for COVID. So again, in abundance of caution, even though I've been informed that Investigator Weber was vaccinated, in an effort to consider the safety and protocol and the spread of COVID, Mr. Weber, or Investigator Weber, is going to testify this afternoon by Ring Central. This is a person who has not testified previously, so there's no transcript of testimony. If and when the defense is crossing, or at the end of their cross, if they feel that they were not adequately able to effectively crossed or they believe, there were issues with the technology, I will consider a motion to have him recalled after his appropriate quarantine for further examination in person. Mr. Gorman?
Thank you, Judge. Judge, as you know, the defense has objected to every witness that has not testified in person, believing, Your Honor, that it does not meet adequate confrontation clause issues, constitutional right to a fair trial, things of that nature. In this particular case, Judge, we're not going to withdraw or minimize our previous objections. But in this particular case, Judge, the defense does not have an interest in bringing someone in with a COVID contact to, I think it was his son that he was contacted with, to contaminate this room or anybody in it. So because he plays what we believe to be a limited role in the investigation, Judge, we would agree to proceed with him by video today. I do appreciate the court allowing us to approach the court with a motion to bring him back if we feel like we're unable to properly cross-examine him. So for that reason, Judge, we would agree with what the court is suggesting and what I think what the prosecutors are asking for.
All right, thank you.
Judge, I only add, I think, don't quote me on this, but I believe the CDC guidelines for folks that are vaccinated but exposed is a 7-day quarantine.
Okay, thank you.
Can we talk, Your Honor, about Chester Williams' testimony?
Sure, on or off the record?
On the record.
Okay.
The prosecutor already knows because we've talked to them about this. Judge, our understanding was earlier in the week that we were going to review both transcripts of Chester Williams. As the court knows, he testified once in March of 2019 in an atmosphere, Your Honor, that was for trial. In other words, it was a deposition. He was going to testify for trial, and he was subject to cross-examination. Earlier last week, because it was a long time ago, I was mistaken that it wasn't a suppression hearing. It actually was done in case he was unavailable to testify in March of 2020. He became available or stayed available and testified in person in March of 2020, Your Honor. There's a transcript of that testimony. There's a video and audio DVD or whatever it might be, CD, disc or whatever it is, of the March of 2019 testimony. I was going to, Your Honor, look at both of those, and depending on which one the state chose to utilize here in front of this jury, I was going to look at the other under oath testimony transcript and decide whether or not there were inconsistencies for purposes of cross-examination, which anyone who would testify in a courtroom would be subject to if they were under oath at a prior or subsequent situation where they were providing testimony under oath. I did that, Your Honor, and concluded that I wasn't going to present any testimony from the time that, or from the opposite or the other day that. I'm not being very clear. Let me say it again. I apologize.
That's okay.
Judge, if for instance they chose the March of 2019 audio-video recording, which I believe they're choosing, I've decided along with Mr. Riley that we weren't going to talk about the March of 2020 time that he testified before a jury because we didn't think it was worth the cross-examination, so to speak. Now, Judge, they're telling us they want to play both for the jury. And I would suggest to the court that we've had up to date every person in this court that's testified in this trial and going forward, or from today going backward to Monday, every single person, Judge, has had 2 times they've been under oath to testify. The only thing we've been doing is examining them with their prior testimony. No one is reading into the record their prior testimony to the jury. In other words, there's not 2 times these people are testifying before this jury. And if the court allows Chester Williams' testimony from both days to be read into the record or shown to the jury in the case of the video, then he in effect, Judge, is testifying twice before this jury, and that's unfair. So I don't care which one they choose, but they should choose one because no one else is having 2 times where they've testified under oath being presented to this jury.
Mr. Prinzi.
Your Honor, I understand what Mr. Gorman is saying, however, I adamantly disagree. If Mr. Williams was still available to testify, he could testify about everything he testified in his deposition and everything he testified at trial. And there was nothing that the defense could do about it. We would have him, and then we'd ask him the questions. They could impeach him, and they could use his prior statements if they were inconsistent. They can do the same thing here. We'll read both in, and they would have the ability to point out to the jury during their arguments that, look, Mr. Williams had testified in 19, he said this, he testified in 20, and he said this. So they have that same ability to impeach them that they would have had he testified live. So we do not believe in any way that the defense is being prejudiced by putting in both his statements. We have asked them if there's parts you don't want, that are duplicative, or there's any part about it that you think, bring it to our attention. They've said that I guess we haven't gotten to that point where they've said that there's anything they don't want in there, but the fact is they're just saying now nothing should come in on that, the second one.
Judge, these are state witnesses, and we could go back and look at every single time someone testified in March of 2020, the state witnesses that have been called, and then match it to what they said from the stand in this courtroom, in this trial today, and I guarantee it would be different. But the state is stuck with that difference. They don't get to stand up and impeach their own witness and say, hey, what about this? You said this before. So if Chester Williams were alive or available today to testify, and he sat in this witness chair, they would not be able to say to Mr. Williams, back on this date, you said this. They can't do that. That's impeaching their own witness. They're not allowed to do that. And if we chose, Judge, not to cross-examine him, then what he said from this stand would go. It wouldn't be, you said this back then, Mr. Williams. That would only come from the defense if we chose to do so. They can't do this.
All right.
Judge, that's incorrect. We could do that in the form of refreshing his recollection.
That's not
Okay.
true.
All right. I've heard it. I've heard all of it. I have previously ruled that Mr. Williams is unavailable due to a medical condition. He was deposed in March of 2019 because he had a heart condition, and the state requested a deposition in which, in case he was unavailable for trial when we started trial in March of 2020. That deposition and his testimony was available to the defense. First of all, he testified, and then was subject to cross-examination by Mr. Gorman and Mr. Riley. I'm not sure who crossed him. Mr. Riley?
Mr. Riley did both, Your Honor.
So when he testified then in March of 2020, because he was still here, they could have impeached him with his deposition testimony. He was subject to direct and cross-examination in the trial that started in March of 2020, and ultimately a mistrial was declared, and subject to cross-examination. Because I have ruled him unavailable, I find that both the March 19 deposition can be played and the transcript of March 2020 can be read. Over the defense's objection, and your objections noted for the record. All right, what else? Is that first? Is that what you're doing first?
We're going to play the deposition first, then have the transcript read.
Okay.
Judge, will we note a continuing objection, please?
Yes. Continuing objection, and then you can object between the deposition and then whoever's going to read the transcript. All right, what else? Anything?
I don't believe so.
I'd like to do that at sidebar.
Okay. Yeah, and I forget how long the deposition.
It's 55 minutes
Okay, so we may take a break.
after watching the deposition.
Yeah, right.
55 minutes.
And then you can do it there then. All right. What else?
Nothing back.
All right, bring in the jury. I'm going to inform them why we're watching a video.
All rise, please.
All right, gentlemen, by show of hands, The admonition I gave you and reminded you yesterday before you left, everyone in compliance with that admonition by a raise of hands. Thank you, all 18 have indicated yes. All right, the state's going to have its next witness, who is Chester Williams. Mr. Williams was testified by video. There was a video deposition of Mr. Williams' testimony. That's going to be played for you right now. I want to inform you, though, you will not be given a copy of that. It's as if he's here testifying. So in the future, if you need to know what he said, you're going to have to rely on your collective memory. So I want just you to know that. You have to treat it as if he's here in court testifying. Okay? Mr. D'Angelo, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Nothing but the truth, so help me God. Next, say yes or no out loud.
Yes.
Okay, so I just need you to make sure that you speak up and speak now microphone so that we can all hear your testimony, okay? Yes. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, I'm going to need you to state your full name and spell your last name for the record, please.
Chester L. Williams. Williams, W-I-L-M-I-A-M-S.
Mr. Williams, have you ever testified in court before?
Pardon?
Have you ever testified in court before?
No. No, I haven't.
Okay. And can you please tell the jury and the court a little bit about yourself? Are you married?
Yes, I am.
Do you have any children?
3,
Do you have any grandchildren?
2,
Where do you live?
714 Porch, F-E-L-T-Z Street,
And is that in what city, county, and state?
Akron, Ohio, 44307.
Okay. Are you working? Do you currently work?
I retired 08.
What did you do when you worked?
I was a machinist, lathe operator, a trucker, crane operator. I was like a utility man. I did a lot.
Okay. Mr. Williams, you indicated that you live at 714 Fultz Avenue in the city of Akron. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell the jury how long you lived there?
It's over 40-some years.
Mr. Williams, I'm showing you 3 documents. They're labeled for identification purposes as State's Exhibits 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to ask you to take a minute to take a look at those and let me know when you're finished.
You have up here 1, 2, 3?
Yeah, and I'll show you more later. But you recognize these 3 photographs?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell the jury what they are?
Well, you got number 1.
And I'll go over each individual one, but just very generally, are these photographs of your house?
Yes, it is.
All right. Now, are these fair and accurate depictions of your house?
Yes, but what are other ones?
Yeah, I'll go over each
Oh.
individual exhibit separately, okay? All right. The first one I'm going to talk to you about is State's Exhibit number 1. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
All right. State's Exhibit number 1 that you identified as a photograph of your house. Is this the front or back of your house? What is this?
It's firm.
Okay. And your address was 714 Fultz, correct?
Right.
All right. Okay. Fair and accurate depiction of the front of your house in State's Exhibit number 1.
Okay.
Is that right? Yes or no?
Yes.
State's Exhibit number 2. Another photograph here. Can you tell the jury what this is? Or what this photograph shows?
Seemed like the same picture here.
Yeah, just about. It's in front of your house.
Yeah, the front too.
States exhibit number 2, fair and accurate depiction of the front of your house.
It is.
And finally, Mr. Williams, I'm going to show you states exhibit number 3. Can you tell the jury what this is?
That's the side of my house in the back.
Okay. Side of your house in the back. Fair and accurate depiction of the side of your house in the back.
It is.
Now, Mr. Williams, the exterior portion of your house, do you have anything on the outside of your house that would record or videotape anything on the outside of your house?
I have 4 cameras.
You have 4 cameras, and they record things that are going on outside of your house. Is that right?
From the inside. I got it in the kitchen.
All right. And the cameras, though, record things that are occurring on the outside, right?
Right.
Okay. Where do you view what's going on those cameras?
From the kitchen.
Okay. What do you have in the kitchen that enables you to view those things?
I have a video box.
Okay. Is there a screen there or something there that enables you to view that?
It is.
Okay. All right. Do you know what type of cameras they are?
No.
All right. When did you get them?
Loads.
Lowe's? You got them at Lowe's?
Yeah.
Do you know when you got them, or do you not remember?
No, it's had to be over 2 years, I guess.
Okay.
3 or 4 years.
Okay.
I'm not for sure.
Why do you have cameras on the front of your house and the front of your house?
To check my wife when she was working, I could see a car come in and I would see her leave.
Generally, where are the cameras located on your house?
Well, you got one on the front porch, like. You got 3 more on the side.
Okay. Now, Mr. Williams, you testified that you said you had 4 cameras on the outside of your house. Is that
Yes.
accurate? Okay. The first photograph I'm going to show you is State's Exhibit number 4. Can you please take a minute to take a look at that? You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What does this photograph show?
But it showed the back of my house and got 4 cameras, I got a night light.
Okay. All right. So you have some cameras on the back side of your house. Is this a fair and accurate depiction of the back side of your house?
It is.
All right. And you said that it shows some cameras in those photographs.
Yes.
All right. Now the first question I'm going to ask you is, I know some of the cameras are hard to see, but can you just generally point on the photograph where those cameras are located?
Whatever.
Yeah, you can point to them
Okay.
right now.
This one here is at the, almost at the top of my roof, by the roof, right up next to the light, that night light.
Okay. There's a second one by the night light, you said?
Second one is right at the night light almost.
All right. And then there's a third one there that's kind of hard to see.
Well, I know, but I put it there.
Okay.
This is the third one right here.
Okay.
It's right by my sliding glass door.
Now, the cameras on the outside of your house, how are they labeled on the system when you view it in your house? Are they labeled X, Y, Z? How are they labeled?
Well, I just had 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, so they're labeled 1, 2, 3, 4?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you do that labeling, or is that how the system came?
Well, I did the labor.
Okay. All right. All right. Now, I'm going to show you another photograph. That's State's Exhibit number 4A. Do you see this photograph?
Yes.
All right. Is that the same or similar photograph as the State's Exhibit 4?
This one here?
Yes.
And this one, yeah, it's
All right.
the same.
4A is a fair and accurate depiction of the side of your house showing the cameras, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what is different on State's Exhibit number 4A?
It's all to the left.
Okay.
And this antenna,
All right.
television, satellite almost blocked it.
Okay. And are the cameras identified?
Yes.
Okay. And this is a fair and accurate depiction of how the cameras are identified at your house, the side of your house.
Yes.
All right. Judge, I'm going to ask at this point to publish State's Exhibits 4 and 4A to the jury.
Can you just change that?
No.
All right, so the first photograph I'm going to show is State's Exhibit 4A. I'm going to publish this to the jury, which you previously identified as the photograph to the side of your house, correct?
Yes.
All right. Sure. State's Exhibit number 4A. This is the photograph, same as State's Exhibit number 4. The only difference is that the cameras are circled and labeled. Is that right, Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Okay. And so when we look at State's Exhibit number 4A, the camera up here that I'm pointing to right there, what is that camera labeled as?
Someone wrote 3 on that.
Okay. Well, it says, does that say 2 or 3? Camera number 2 there.
Oh, I see now that box. No, you got 2 on there.
All right. And then this camera right there, what is that labeled as?
3.
Okay. And then the one down here on the shutter, what is that labeled as?
1.
Okay. Now, you said there's a 4th camera that you have on your house. Is that right? Where is that located?
That's on the front.
Can you tell the jury why you placed that camera on the front of your house?
Well, it was for, I could show pictures of my friend,
And your friend was who?
Lindell.
Mr. Lindell Lewis?
Yes.
Okay. So you placed that camera on the front of your house. Is it on an awning? Is it on the porch? Is it on the door? Where is it, gentlemen?
It's on right at the corner of my house. I call that. It ain't no awning. It's I made that.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to show you these 2 photographs, State's Exhibit number 5 and 5A, first State's Exhibit number 5. What does that photograph show?
That's my camera pointing that across the street.
Okay. Is this the camera that's on the front of your house?
Yes, it is.
The 4th camera. Fair and accurate depiction of the camera on the front of your house.
It is.
Okay. And it's on almost like a piece of wood that's on the railing.
I raised that up. I put a 2x4 there.
All right. Okay. And this camera, is it labeled, you said the others were 1, 2, and 3. What number is this camera?
Number 4.
Now I'm showing you State's Exhibit number 5A. Can you please tell the jury what this photograph shows?
That's number 4 camera.
Okay, so same as number 5, but the only difference is the camera circled and labeled. Is that right?
That's right.
Your Honor, at this time, I ask the court to publish State's Exhibit number 5 and 5A to the jury.
Do you, Judge?
No.
So, Mr. Williams, I'm showing you State's Exhibit number 5. That's the camera that is on the front of your porch. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. And State's Exhibit number 5A. This is once again another photograph of the camera on the front of your porch, labeled number 4. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. So those are the 4 cameras that you have on the outside of your house, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm showing you another photograph of labeled State's Exhibit number 6. Can you tell the jury what this photograph shows?
Well, the house ain't there no more. It was my friend's house, Lindell Lewis. You got across the street, I don't know this guy, but I know him, I don't know his name.
Yeah.
Then you got Stan White's house on the left.
Stan Ford's wife's house?
Yes.
And is this picture taken from, where is it coming from? Do you know?
Coming from the balances, where I put that extra board up.
So right here, camera number 4.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be on the front porch of your house when
It
you took
is.
this photograph? Yeah. All right. So this is a camera view from your front porch.
Right.
Judge, at this time, I asked to publish State's Exhibit number 6. Fair and accurate depiction, of your front porch.
Why?
Is this a fair and accurate depiction of the view from your front
It is, that's my porch.
Any objection?
No.
Showing State's Exhibit number 6, which is the view from the front porch. All right. Now, Mr. Williams, you said that you live at 714 Fultz,
Yes.
right? We saw in some photographs that there's another street right next to yours. Tell the jury what street that is called. You're on the corner.
Well, if I'm on the corner right here,
Right.
I'm on Fultz and you got Hillcrest here.
Okay. All right. And you're referring to a document that's been marked for identification purposes. It states Exhibit number 7. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And do you recognize this this document or this aerial view?
Oh, yeah.
All right. And what is it? Can you tell the jury?
The picture
Yeah.
of the houses.
Yeah. Just tell the jury what the picture is generally.
Well, the picture just showing the street and the houses.
All right. Of your house? Your house on this map?
No, I couldn't have did that. That's a helicopter.
Yeah. No, you didn't take this picture. I
No.
understand that. So.
No.
But this is generally a map or an overview of your area.
Yes.
Where you live. All right. And you pointed to this one street here as being Fultz, right? That's what you pointed to.
Yeah.
And then you pointed to this being
Hillcrest.
Hillcrest. Okay. And very generally, can you point to, excuse me. Judge, at this time, I'd like to publish this State's Exhibit number 7 to the jury so we can point to these things. Okay, Mr. Williams, you see the State's Exhibit number 7 there?
Yes.
Okay. Now you pointed to some stuff, and I want to make sure that it's clear so that everyone can see it. Point to the jury and tell them where Fultz Avenue is.
Well, it's right off of East Avenue,
Okay, so you're pointing as this is Fultz going down here.
all the way by my house.
All right. Now can you point to the map and tell us where Hillcrest Avenue is?
It's right by my house, going
All right. Okay, we see you there.
east and west.
Okay. Now point to the map and tell the jury where your house is.
Right here.
Okay. And your address was what?
714 Fultz.
All right. Now I'm going to ask you about this house right there.
It's no longer there.
It's no longer there. Okay. What happened to that house?
Well, it was torched.
It burned.
Yes.
And that address was what?
I think it's 719.
719 Fultz. Do you know who lived there at 719 Fultz?
Used to live there, Lindell Lewis.
Lindell Lewis. Okay. And how about this house right there? Do you know anything about that house that I'm going to?
That's Stan's mother's house.
Dan's mother's house. That's on Hillcrest, right?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know the address there for that house?
Not right off, man.
You don't remember. All right. And then how about this house right there? What, do you know whose house that is?
That's Stan White House.
Stan Ford's wife's house.
Yes.
And do you remember the address there? If you don't, that's okay.
No.
All right. Now I'm showing you another map that's marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit number A. Do you see this map? 7. Excuse me.
Yes.
Okay. And now this map is the same as State's Exhibit number 7, but it has some labels on it. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And it has your house there, 714 Volts. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then it has Stan's house, and then Stan's mom and Stan's wife's house.
Right.
Okay. And it also labels the cameras. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
John?
All right. I'm going to go ahead and publish this to the jury. Mr. Williams, you see that map?
Yes.
678? Okay. And so we have, you previously labeled this as Fultz, right?
Right.
Okay. And you labeled this as Hillcrest.
Hillcrest.
Your house there at 714, correct?
Right.
And Lindell Lewis's house there at 719, right?
Yes.
We have Stan's mom's house, which is right there, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And Stan's wife's house, which is right there. Yeah. Okay. All right. And it also has those cameras that you previously identified. Do you see those kind of marked on this exhibit on your house?
Yes.
Tell us about that. They're kind of marked as to where they're located. Is that correct?
Well, the way you got them here is you got a camera like 1, 3, 2, 4.
Okay. And those are all the ones that we previously talked about, right?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Williams, I'd like to draw your attention to April 18th through April 16th, or April 17th, excuse me, through April 18th of 2016. Do you remember that time frame?
No, what?
Okay. If I told you that Lindell's house caught on fire on April 18th, would you have any reason to disagree with that?
The 18th?
April 18th of 2016, would you have any reason to disagree with that?
No, I have no reason to disagree.
All right.
But
The night that Lindell's house caught on fire, tell the jury how you found out about it.
well, it's a flash of light, and I went outside to check. And I came back and told my wife, I said, call the fire department. I said, Lindell house is on fire.
Were you awake or were you asleep when
No, I was watching TV upstairs in my bedroom.
what drew your attention to it?
I was gonna go over there sick and I saved it, but it was too dark, too bad. Something blew up like a gallon jug, boom. I went back in the house and told my wife, I said, I'm going downstairs and watch the cameras.
What drew your attention to the fire at first? You said it was the light, but was there anything else that drew your attention across the street?
Well, after a little while, the fire trucks came.
Okay.
That's really got my attention.
Yeah, sure. You indicated that Mr. Lewis lived at 719 Fultz.
Pardon?
Mr. Lewis Lindell, he lived at 719
Yes.
Fultz? Okay. And after you found out that the fire was going, what did you do?
Well, like I said, I was finna run over there and knock on the door thinking I'd save somebody. But it was too bad. I went back in the house and I told my wife, I said, I'm gonna look at my cameras and check it out.
Okay. What did your wife do?
She called the fire department.
At some point when the fire is subsided or is over with, did anyone come to your house and ask you about your cameras?
I think it was, 2 detectives, Spool or something like that, Spot. And, they said, do I have you okay to look at the cameras? I said,
So when you're answering questions, I need you not to, who came to see you? Two Akron police officers or detectives?
detectives.
They came to see you, or to ask you about your cameras.
That was the next day.
All right. So preliminarily, that objection is sustained.
So they asked you about your cameras. Is that right? The
Yes.
police? Okay. And what did you do? What did you say? What did you tell them?
They said, could I,
Go ahead, you can answer.
they said, could I visit your camera? I said, yeah, that is.
Did you let them do that?
Oh, yeah.
Did they do anything to your cameras or to your camera system?
Well, it was a police woman. She knew the camera better than I did. So, I think she started it up, bagged it up, took pictures and all that. I don't know how to do that. I just hooked them up.
Did they record what was on there or download it?
Well, they said they did.
Okay. Now let me ask you this about your cameras. The date and the time and all that, is that accurate on your cameras?
That I don't know.
Okay. Did you ever set the date or the time on your cameras?
Don't know why.
Don't know how. You just set them up and turn them on?
Yeah.
Okay. On April 18th and 17th and 18th of 2016, that day, were your cameras working properly?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And did you view them at all? Did you look at the cameras?
That's all I did. So then it looked at them the whole day.
They were working properly? Were they fair and accurate depictions of what you were doing?
Oh, yeah, they were nice.
All right. Mr. Williams, now I'm going to show you a document that's been marked for identification purposes. It states exhibit number 8. Do you see that document?
Yes.
Okay. States exhibit number 8, right?
Okay, yeah.
And so, can you tell the jury what this shows?
I can't make that up.
Okay. What does it say here on the bottom of Stacy's exhibit number 8?
Camera one.
Okay. And so do you recognize this photograph?
Too bush.
Yeah, it is. Okay. Do you recognize this as being from one of your cameras?
not being procedures, but I can't even see my house.
Okay. So this is camera 1. You identified camera 1 as being on the back of your house, is that right?
It's on.
On the side,
Mm,
is that right?
yes,
Okay. So camera 1's on the side of your house. Is this a fair and accurate view of camera number 1?
I can't make that up.
Okay, alright. Alright, camera number 9, or I'm showing you Stacy's exhibit number 9, excuse me. Do you see this photograph?
Oh, yeah, I read by the antenna,
Okay.
the satellite antenna,
What does it say on the bottom of this camera, or on the Stacy's exhibit number 9?
camera 2.
Alright, so this is camera number 2. You previously identified camera 2 as being on the side of your house, is that right?
Yes,
Is this a fair and accurate depiction of what you would see if you were looking at camera 2?
you gotta be clear now.
Okay, yeah, I understand that, but at daytime, is it as clear as it is at nighttime when you're looking at your cameras?
Well, it's real clear in the day, but night, it's clear, but not perfect.
Judge, at this time, I'm going to ask to publish Stacy's exhibit number 9 to
Any objection?
Not tonight.
Okay, so this is Stacy's exhibit number 9 that we're looking at here, is that right, Mr. Williams?
Yes,
And you said you noticed, or you recognized this item right here, what is that?
that's the satellite antenna.
Okay, now I'm showing you another photograph that's been marked for identification purposes of Stacy's exhibit 9A. Do you see that, sir?
Yes,
Okay. What does it say at the bottom here of Stacy's exhibit number 9A?
it's camera 2.
Okay, and do you see that same antenna?
Satellite antenna.
Okay. And is there something labeled here on Stacy's exhibit number 9A?
Well, you got some numbers up there, but I can't make that out, but I know that's 13, look like 1370.
Okay. And what would that represent? Do you know?
Here, Chris.
Okay. Is that a house number or how is that?
I can't see it at the night.
Okay.
I'm doing this one a little differently than the other ones. The other non-A exhibits, he testified as to what was there before the one with the label was shown. Now we're showing one with the label, expecting him to testify what's on that without first establishing his foundation for the label.
Okay. Mr. Williams, I'm going to show you another photograph that's been marked for identification purposes of Stacy's exhibit number 10. You see, you recognize that photograph?
Yes.
Okay. Tell the jury what the Stacy's exhibit number 10 is.
Say that again.
Can you tell the jury what Stacy's exhibit number 10 shows?
I'm going to show him 3 cars and across the street. It's showing Stan house and my other neighbor, I don't know his name, we call him Pee-wee.
Okay. At the bottom of Stacy's exhibit number 10, can you tell the jury can you read that there? What that says?
Seemed like it said 5, but ain't no 5.
Okay.
See right there?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Is this from one of your cameras?
Yes.
Okay. Fair and accurate depiction of what we see there from one of your cameras.
Say that again.
This is a fair and accurate depiction of a...
Oh yeah, it's showing 3 houses.
Okay.
My truck and my car.
Okay.
3 cars I had.
At this time, Judge, I ask to publish to the jury Stacy's exhibit number 10. Mr. Williams, you see me holding up here State's Exhibit number 10?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you were pointed to your cars. Can you tell the jury what that means? Where your cars are at in State's Exhibit number 10?
They're in my driveway. And this one right here, I was unloading, so I pulled it up on the lawn.
Okay.
These are the two in the driveway there.
You said you saw Stan's house in this photograph?
Well, I see his house in the garage, and I told you I don't know this guy's name, but we call it Pee Wee.
All right.
That's his house.
All right. So that's Stan Ford's house right there is what you're pointing to.
Right.
And right here, you said his name's Pete.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to show you another photograph that's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit number 11. Can you tell the jury what you're seeing or what you're looking at here?
Well, first, Stan's wife house. And this guy across the street, I don't know his name.
Okay.
What date this was? I don't see Lindell house.
Okay. Well, it's hard to read on this picture, but I'll ask you this again, or ask you this later, but can you tell us on State's Exhibit number 11 what's labeled there at the bottom?
Cameron Ford. Oh, I see it now.
What are you pointing to there, sir?
Lindell house. And
Is
this the guy across the street from Lindell. I don't know his name.
This photograph, State's Exhibit number 11, is this a fair and accurate depiction of your video from camera 4?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Your Honor, at this time I ask to publish State's Exhibit number 11. Mr. Williams, I'm showing the jury this document marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit number 11. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Can you please point to what you said? This is a camera view from number 4, right, on their front porch, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you please point to Lindell Lewis's house?
Right here.
Okay. All right. And do you see, can you point to generally, I know it's blurry, where Stan's wife's house is at?
It's right there on the corner.
Right there on the corner. Okay. All right. Now, Lindell's house you see in these photographs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Williams, now I'd like to draw your attention to just about a little over a year later, okay, in May of 2017. Do you recall that time?
Not really.
Not really, okay. If I told you that there was another fire on Holtz, your street, in May or May 15th of 2017, would you have any reason to disagree with that?
No.
Do you remember that fire occurring?
Well, I stayed in the kitchen watching that. I didn't go out like I did Lindell fire. I seen the fire department and all of that. And the way it was burning and blazed up.
Were you awake or were you asleep?
No, I was in the kitchen.
What drew your attention to what was going on outside?
The whole street lit up.
And what did you do?
I sat there and watched it on my cameras.
And what happened? Can you tell us what you saw happen on your cameras?
Well, the house burned.
Okay. Fire department come?
Took them a little while.
All right. after the fire department came and the fire was extinguished, did someone come to your house and ask you about the cameras? Your cameras again?
No,
All right. Tell us about, did the police ever come to your house again?
no.
After that second fire?
I don't recall that they coming there. I know the reporter came there, but I didn't talk to him.
And you didn't talk to a reporter that came to your house?
Yeah, oh, he kept on taking pictures, putting it on the TV.
All right. And did anyone come and ask you about your cameras anymore, or what was on your cameras?
Well, that was a few days after. It wasn't the same day or night.
Gotcha, gotcha. And who was that a few days later?
I got his name in my pocket, but I can't pronounce it. I think it's Dr. Brooks.
Are you saying Gump? You don't have to give us a name.
Okay.
Was it a police officer?
I think he's a detective.
Detective. Oh, okay. And what did he ask you about your cameras?
He said,
Go ahead, you answer.
could I use your camera? I said, well, I'm gonna look at it. He said, we'll bring you another set. We got to use your camera in some kind of, how to detect it. So they had to send it to Columbus, I think.
Okay. So,
I said, as long as you replace it, I don't have those fault.
so they took your camera system. The police officer actually took your camera system, is that right?
They took the video box.
Gotcha. And did they replace that for you?
Well, they brought one not better than mine.
And in that time period, of that second fire that occurred on your street, sir, were your cameras working properly?
Yes.
Okay. Was the date and time accurate on those cameras or not?
Well, I'll recall the date
Okay.
and the time.
Did you ever set the date or the time on your camera?
No.
Okay. All right. Now, Mr. Williams, I'm going to ask you a little bit about Mr. Lewis, who you talked about earlier, okay? I'm showing you this document.
Excuse me.
All right.
Can I have a bag?
Oh, you have to use the restroom? Yeah, come on, follow me. Okay, thank you, Judge. Mr. Williams, okay, now I'm showing you a document that's been marked. You previously identified this document as State's Exhibit number 7A. Do you remember looking at this?
Yes.
Okay, and you pointed right here at 719 Fultz as being someone you knew by the name of Lindell Lewis, is that right? Tell the jury how long you knew Mr. Lewis.
I don't recall how many years, I just know I knew him.
All right, and how did you know him?
Well, we used to, I forget the name of the game, we used to play cards together.
Okay, and so he's a neighbor of yours, right?
Yeah.
Did you live there before he moved in?
I was aware before he moved in.
Okay. And did you just become friendly with him because he was your neighbor and you played cards with him?
Yes.
Okay. And did you get along with Mr. Lewis?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Would you consider him a friend or just a neighbor?
Friend and a neighbor.
Okay. Now tell us about Mr. Lewis. Was he in good health or did he have any health conditions?
He was like me. He got a heart transplant, and he had what they call some kind of instrument. They wear in their chest. He had that, plus to put out of water.
Are they walking?
Same as me.
All right. You had a heart transplant, you said?
Double, what they call it, quadruple.
Oh,
They
wow.
took the veins out my leg and put them in my heart,
Okay.
and they took both legs. You know, took a vein here.
Now that, okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I mean, you can feel the scars.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 3 scars here. They went in there, put them veins in. I'm walking a little better now. I used to couldn't even walk.
That's good, I'm glad.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry, sir, but now I want to ask you about, you talked about Mr. Stan, or Mr. Ford, the defendant in this case, okay?
Mhm.
All right. Now, you said that at this house right here that I'm pointing to, that was Stan's mom's house. You referred to that. Tell us about Stan's mom. Who was she? Did you know her?
Well, she was a very nice lady.
Okay.
You know.
Did you live there before she?
Oh yeah, I was the first one to live there. When they brought all more houses across the highway. I think I lived there almost 40, maybe 46 years.
Sure. And Stan's mom lived right there.
Yes.
Who did she live there with initially?
Well, she has some, I guess, her grandkids.
Okay. Was Mr. Ford, the defendant in this case, living there?
You said Mr. Ford, you mean Stan?
Stan, yeah,
Oh.
the defendant. When he
He lived there for a while.
did he move in there initially with her, or did he come later?
Well, I didn't keep up with that. All I know, that's his mom, and he was over there.
Okay. And later, you had indicated that this was Stan's wife's house,
Yeah.
next to Stan's mom's house.
It is.
22 on 67 number 7A. And so did he live there at all, or do you know?
That's his wife's house, yeah.
So he lived there with his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he eventually moved over there, or lived there.
We lived there.
Yeah. Is Stan's mom still around? Do you know?
Oh, no, she been passed. She passed away.
Okay. All right. Tell the jury, did you know Stan, Mr. Ford, the defendant?
Oh, yeah.
You got to know him?
Mm-hmm.
Did you get along with him?
Sure.
You can answer that question, Mr. Williams. Just answer
Well,
the question. Don't editorialize, just answer whether you got along with him, yes or no.
That's both, yes and no.
Fair?
Okay. So there are points where you got along with him and other points where you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How long did you know the defendant, Mr. Ford?
I can't recall the years. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know, Mr. Williams, if the defendant, Mr. Ford, knew about the cameras on the outside of your house?
Sure.
If you know the answer, you may answer it.
Yes, he knew.
How do you know that he knew?
He came up to me one day and said, I see you got cameras there. I said, yeah. He said, I'm going to get me some of them.
Mr. Williams, do you know if Mr. Ford, the defendant, knew Lindell Lewis?
Well, we're all neighbors. He had to know her.
Do you know, if you do, you don't, that's okay, but do you know if they got along, Mr. Lewis and Mr. Ford?
Church?
Only if you know the answer, Mr. Williams, don't guess.
Pardon?
Said only if you know the answer to Mr. D'Angelo's question. Yes or no, you don't say. If you don't know, you can't guess, okay?
Okay, no.
The answer is no, that you don't know, or no, that they didn't get along?
You can go both ways. So, I mean, I said that I seen the police over there 3 or 4 times to Lindell house.
Do you personally know why the police were there over at Lindell's house?
I didn't talk to the police, not personally, but I'm standing there in the doorway, and I see him arguing.
Who do you mean by, you see them arguing? Who do you mean by them arguing?
Stan Lindell and the police.
So Stanley, Lindell, and the police were arguing, and you observed this.
I was standing in the doorway.
Do you know what Stanley and Lindell Lewis were arguing about?
No.
You testified earlier that you aimed camera number 4 at Lindell Lewis's house to get that vantage point. You remember that? You had
Yeah.
cameras on your front
Yeah.
porch? You said you aimed it so that it would get his house. Can you tell the jury why you did that?
Well, you're a friend of mine. I didn't want him to get hurt.
Why were you concerned that you might get hurt?
Well, all that bickering and arguing and all that.
Okay. And who was he bickering and arguing with?
Well, Stan and Lewis, Mr. Lewis. Lindell.
Lindell. Okay. So Lindell was arguing with Stan, and so you put your camera on your porch so it could get a vantage point of Lindell's house. Because you didn't want him to get hurt or anything to happen.
Right.
Mr. Williams, do you see Stan Ford, your neighbor, in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Can you please point to him and describe what he's wearing for the record?
He got look like a sport shirt on, black.
Black shirt?
Yeah.
I think Mr. Williams, that was where we went over to mention identify as Mr. Riley, if you need to cross-examination.
Williams, this argument that you talked about with Mr. D'Angelo, or the police were at the house that you watched from your front door, you recall that?
Yes.
You agree with me? You don't know when that argument occurred?
No, I don't.
You don't know whether it was before you had the cameras set up or after the cameras were set up, correct?
Well, it was after the cameras, but I had the cameras up for a while.
3 years, you said? 3 years the cameras had been up?
I don't know, but I got the receipt at the house, so I can show it to you.
When you set up the cameras, are they in the original spot, or have you moved them around on occasion?
Well, that's Mother Nature. They moved it, and I bumped them, back in place. But the one on the, like this, has never been moved, the one on the front. The mother side, you got birds and not running into them and stuff. They bump a little bit, if I can see it from the inside of the kitchen.
The argument that you talked about, the one argument that you talked about that you watched from your doorway, that occurred after you set up the cameras, correct?
Yes.
But you don't know when that occurred, what year that was,
No,
correct?
I don't.
And you don't know personally what the argument was even about, correct?
No, I don't.
know, Mr. Williams, that they were arguing?
Yeah. Here, one shot here, the other shot there, that talking. And the police started breaking up at night. It's just, you can tell when somebody arguing.
Did you see or personally observe any other arguments between Stanley and Lindell?
Well, the police was out there 3 or 4 times.
Objection. Nothing further.
Nothing.
All right, Mr. Williams, thank you very much for your testimony. Great. Come to sidebar. That he accurately, yeah. Would you raise your hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will accurately and truly read the transcript before you?
I do.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Williams, Chester Williams, that you just saw in the video, testified in a second proceeding. He was subject to direct and cross-examination. That was not videotaped. That was just taken down by Terry Sims, the court reporter. The state is now going to have Mike Kelly, who is going to be reading Mr. Williams' testimony. That was taken down at that previous proceeding. Again, you have to treat Mr. Kelly as if he's Mr. Williams. You will not be given a copy of that transcript, so if there's anything, you have to rely on your collective memories as to what that testimony is. And there will be exhibit numbers talked about in this transcript. They are different than what you heard Mr. Williams just testify to on the video. So I'm going to instruct you that you are to disregard those numbers because those numbers differ from what you've already heard. Thank you. All right, Mr. D'Angelo. You may, please. Thank you. Go ahead and proceed, Mr. D'Angelo.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I'm going to hold on to that. Mr. Williams, this time.
And that's exhibit what?
Number 25 has been previously
Thank you.
identified.
You may proceed, Mr. D'Angelo.
Okay, Mr. Kelly, I'm just going to start from line number 11 on page 3 of the transcript. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Williams, here's the thing. You press this button here and see what happened. See that little green dot? You can point to stuff with that. I'm going to have you point to stuff with that. And then I believe the court says, did he sign the form?
And if I had a copy, I'd read my part.
And I responded, no. Then the court said, he's not consenting to being photographed or videotaped. Thank you, Mr. Williams. Question from myself. Sir, can you please state your full name and spell your last name for the record, please?
Chester L. Williams. My last name is Williams. W-I-L-L-I-A-M-S.
Mr. Williams, do you sometimes go by the name Chuck?
Yes.
Who calls you Chuck?
My wife of 54 years, some of my friends.
Mr. Williams, can you tell the jury where you live?
714 Fultz, F-U-L-T-Z Street, 44307.
All right, that's in Akron, Ohio.
Akron, Ohio.
That map sitting next to you is marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit number 1. Do you see your house on that street?
Right here.
Okay, how long have you lived there?
46 years.
You said you're married?
Pardon?
You said you were married.
Yes.
How long have you been married?
Since 66.
Do you have any children?
They grown now.
Yeah, how many do you have?
3.
Do you work?
No, I retired in 08.
Where did you retire from?
Cameron Steel,
What did you do for them?
everything. Ran a machine, tow motor, everything in the shop.
Mr. Williams, did you know a man by the name of Lindell Lewis?
Yes,
Okay, I'm putting a document on the document camera, a photograph that's been marked for identification purposes as...
The end,
Yep.
go back and reread it. You have to read it exactly. Starting at line 19.
Okay, I am putting on the document camera a photograph that's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit Number 4. Do you see the photo there?
yes,
Okay, can you tell the jury who that is?
that's Lindell.
Lindell Lewis?
I always call him Lindell.
Lindell, okay. Mr. Williams, how old are you?
80. I was 81 the 24th of February.
Okay. Did you know where Mr. Lindell Lewis lived?
Across the street from my house.
Can you point on State's Exhibit Number 1 where he lived?
This is my house here.
Right. I'll help you get oriented here. This is Fulton Street.
Okay,
This is Hillcrest. That's your house there that you've previously pointed to.
right.
This is East Avenue. Can you point to where Lindell lived?
I think it was.
Right there?
Yeah,
All right. And who did he live there with?
his lady friend, I think.
Do you know what her name was? If you don't remember, that's okay.
I know it, but I just can't bring it up now.
If I told you her name was Gloria,
Gloria, yeah.
okay, on that screen next to you, I'm putting another photograph up that's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit Number 13. Is that Gloria?
That's Gloria.
Okay, did anyone else live with Lindell?
Tommy, he was downstairs.
Okay, Tom Hughley?
Pardon?
Tom Hughley?
I don't know his last name. I just called him Tommy.
Can you describe for the jury what your relationship was with Lindell?
Well, it's Lindell, not Lindell.
With Lindell, what type of relationship did you have with him?
Pretty good.
With Lindell?
Yeah, he taught me how to play cards.
Were you friends?
Oh, yeah, long time.
Mr. Williams, can you tell the jury if you knew a man by the name of Stanley Ford?
Stan?
Stan.
I don't know his last name. I knew him for a long time.
You said you knew him as Stan?
Stan?
Can you point on State's Exhibit Number 1 where Stan lived?
This was his mother's house. That's his house there, I think.
So you said the first house you pointed to was, I think it's marked 1374 Hillcrest. Is that right, sir?
Yes,
And the second house you've pointed to was 1370 Hillcrest. Is that right, sir?
yes.
You pointed initially,
Nope, read it exactly.
when you pointed initially, you said the first house was whose house? 1374 Hillcrest.
That was his mother's
Wait a minute,
house.
hold on. That was, he's not done.
Whose house was that?
That was his mother's house.
Where did Stan live?
What year?
Which house did Stan live in?
Well, he was living there with his mother for a while.
Did he always stay there? Did he stay there all the time?
No,
Did he stay there all the time, sir? Maybe I'll move closer.
until he married that lady here.
Okay, so eventually he moved into 1370 Hillcrest?
Right.
All right, when did that happen, if you know?
I don't know about that.
All right, who did he stay there at 1370 with?
I don't know her name. It was a young lady and they had 2 kids.
2 kids, all right. Anyone else you know of?
Stayed there? No.
Okay. Can you describe for the jury what your relationship with Stanley Stan was with Stanley Stan?
Off and on.
What do you mean by off and on?
Well, there's days when he don't speak to me and sometimes he will.
Okay. Did you have disagreements with him?
Oh yeah,
Over what?
any little thing.
Okay. So would you have disagreements with Stan?
Uh-huh.
Stop, reread it.
Okay. So
No.
you would have disagreements with Stan?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Were there times when you got along with him, though, too?
Yeah, I got along with him.
Mr. Williams, can you tell the jury what you know about the relationship between Lindell and Stan?
Well, I don't think they liked each other.
Why do you say that?
When I see them there, they ain't talking, they always arguing.
They were always arguing?
Uh-huh.
How often would you see them arguing?
Whenever Stan come over there, but he won't go no farther than that.
What would he do when he would stand there?
Well, they'd be arguing.
Okay. Yelling at each other?
I don't know about yelling, but they'd be arguing.
What were they arguing about?
Well, I don't know. I didn't see them argue.
All right. I'd go back in the house. Or excuse
No,
me.
that was it.
All right. I'm sorry.
I'd go back in the house.
You'd see them arguing, and you'd go back in the house.
Uh-huh.
You've got to say yes or no, sir.
Okay.
When I ask you a question, you got to say yes or no. You can't say uh-huh. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. You would see them arguing, and you would go back in the house. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. How many times would you roughly say you would see them arguing?
I don't have no idea how many times.
More than once?
Yes, more than once.
Okay. In relation to, if I told you, you know, that Lindell's house caught on fire, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay. How soon before the house fire did you see them arguing?
Oh, I don't.
If you don't know, that's okay.
I have no idea.
Okay, but it was sometime, obviously, before the house fire, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now you said that Tom used to live in this house too, okay?
Uh-huh.
That's a yes?
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. It's okay. And Tom, where did he live in the house, if you know?
In the basement.
Can you tell the jury what you know about the relationship between Tom and Stan?
It wasn't friendly.
Okay. They didn't get along either?
No.
Okay, now, Mr. Williams, I'd like to draw your attention to April 18th of 2016. Do you recall that date?
No.
Okay. If I told you that Lindell's house caught on fire on April 18th of 2016, would you have any reason to disagree with me?
No.
Okay, so tell us, were you home when Lindell's house caught on fire?
Yes.
Tell the jury about that. What do you remember?
Well, I seen a big blaze and I went to the front door.
Were you sleeping?
I don't know whether I was. I come out the basement or I just seen the blaze when I was fitting to go in the kitchen. I seen a big blaze over there.
All right.
And
Were you in bed?
No, I'm coming out of the basement and I walked upstairs.
So you saw the big blaze. Tell the jury what you did.
I open the door, I go over to Lindell's house. I was fitting to go over there and Tommy lived in the basement and something said boom. I got back.
Okay, so you noticed Lindell's house was on fire. you attempted to go over there and then you saw an explosion?
Yeah.
Okay. Who else was home at your house that night? Was there anyone else at home at your house that night?
My wife.
What's your wife's name?
I call her Dina. Her name is Betty Williams.
You call her what though?
Dina.
Dina. And did she do anything when the house caught on fire?
Well, I holler upstairs.
What did you tell her?
I told her, I said, call the fire department. I said, Lindell's house is on fire.
Do you know if she called?
No, she was in the bedroom. I'm downstairs, you know, hollering.
So you weren't with her when she was calling?
No.
After you told Betty Williams, your wife, to call 911, what did you do?
What did I do?
Yeah, what
I'm
did...
sorry, Mr. Kelly Scott, reread line number 2.
What I did.
Yeah.
What I did.
Yeah, what did you do then?
I stood, went back in my house and looked over and seen how bad it was.
Okay. How were you looking over to see how bad it was?
Well, everybody.
Were you looking out the window?
No, right out my front door.
Okay, Mr. Williams. What type of... Do you have cameras on the outside of your house, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Did you get those when did you get those cameras?
I got the paperwork at home.
You don't know exactly when, though?
No.
Did you get the cameras before Lindell's house caught on fire?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Williams, I'm showing you a series of photographs that are marked for identification purposes as States Exhibits number 25 through States Exhibit number 28. Can you take a minute, look through these photographs, and let me know when you're finished? Okay, sir?
Uh-huh. Okay.
All right. Can you tell the jury we're going to go over these individually, but can you just tell the jury generally what these photographs show?
They showing this one right here.
We'll go over them all individually, but are these photographs of your house, sir?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Do they fairly and accurately depict your house as it would have looked on April 18th of 2016?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, Mr. Williams, I'm asking you to look at the screen next to you, okay? Can you tell the jury what this photograph shows?
That's my house from the front.
That's your house from the front?
Yeah, that's where the camera at right here.
Okay, I'm going to show you States Exhibit number 26. Can you tell the jury what this photograph shows?
That's my front house, and that's the camera right here.
So you are pointing out the camera there, right there in the corner. Is that right, sir?
Right.
States Exhibit number 27. Can you tell the jury what this photograph shows?
That's my front porch.
All right. So you'd be standing on your front porch at this location. Is that right, sir? Looking off your porch.
Here, right by the door.
Okay. And you're looking, that's your view off the front of your porch?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Williams. Can you tell the jury what States Exhibit 28 shows?
Well, I got 3 cameras here.
Okay. Is that the back of your house?
That's the back.
All right. What's that right there, sir?
That's the one pointing at the street, across the street.
What's that up there up by the light?
That's the same as this one here. Both of them point across the street.
And I think it's hard to see here, but do you have another camera in this area?
Well, I put that one up for my wife.
You put that one up, why?
For my wife, so I can see her coming from work.
You wanted to watch your wife coming home?
Coming home, yes.
Gotcha. Mr. Williams, this camera right here, as shown in States Exhibit number 26, can you tell the jury why you placed that camera on the front of your porch?
Well, to my knowledge, I put it up there to try to help Lindell out. thinking I can catch anybody messing with Lindell.
Why did you feel the need to help Lindell out?
Because they got in an argument, him and Stan.
Him and Stan were getting into arguments,
Yeah,
so you put that camera there on your porch?
right.
Mr. Williams, after Lindell's house caught on fire, did someone come to your house to look at your cameras?
What you mean by someone?
A police officer. Did a police officer come to your house to look at your cameras?
Well, it was two police officers.
Okay,
Sergeant Gump.
okay.
I don't know the other guy name. I knew Sergeant Gump pretty good.
You knew him pretty good?
Yeah, 'cause he came to the house 3 or 4 times.
Did another lady come to your house?
Oh yeah, a police lady. She the only one that could run the computer.
The right way, right?
Yeah.
All right. And she was an African American lady?
Reread it.
All right. And she was an African American lady?
No, reread it.
All right. And was she an African American lady?
Yes, she was.
Real nice?
Real nice.
Is her name Detective Hall?
I don't know, but I know she was a black woman, but she was real nice. She know how to. I put the cameras up, but I couldn't put them in position of this, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right. She knew how to do all of that?
Reread it.
So she knew how to do all of that?
Reread it in its entirety, please.
Okay. Right? So she knew how to do all of that.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know if the times on your cameras were accurate?
I'm not for sure.
You are not for sure?
They should be pretty accurate because in the daytime you can see them real good.
Oh, okay. No, but the times. There are times on the camera, the video, were those accurate?
I never watched that. I just watched the pictures.
You just watch the pictures? You don't pay attention to the times?
No, I should have.
That's okay. Now, Mr. Williams, I'd like to draw your attention to May 15th of 2017, where another house caught on fire down the street. Do you remember that time period?
I seen it.
Okay, you saw that house?
Uh-huh.
Where were you? What were you doing when that house caught on fire?
Well, I was in the basement and I heard them fire trucks.
Okay,
And I come up out of the basement and I looked down to the right and that's where the house was burning.
the fire trucks were already on their way?
Yeah.
Did you look at your cameras that night?
Yes.
So you mentioned a man by the name...
Start over.
Now, you mentioned a man by the name of Detective Gump,
Uh-huh.
and he was with the Akron Police Department, is that right?
Yes.
Did he come to your house and look at your cameras?
Reread it.
Did he come to your house then and look at your cameras?
Yes. Him and another police officer.
Your Honor, I don't have any other questions for Mr. Williams. Sir, the defense is going to ask you some questions now, okay? Hold on 1 second. I have one question, Scott.
That's what they all say.
Exactly. Or the court says exactly. Mr. Williams, do you see Stan in the courtroom today?
I didn't look over here. I seen him walking.
Okay.
But the police told me.
Hold on. Hold on. How about if I move this right here? Do you see Stan in the courtroom here today?
I seen, yeah.
You see him?
Yeah.
Can you point to him and describe what he is wearing for the record, please?
Look like blue.
Blue shirt?
Blue shirt.
Can you point to him? Your Honor, may the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
The record will so reflect.
Now they're going to ask you some questions, okay?
Mr. Wright.
Mr. Williams, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
You and I spoke once before, do you recall that?
Uh-huh,
You talked about hearing a boom, and you talked about seeing a fire, right?
uh-huh.
Before that, you saw or heard nothing, correct?
Pardon?
Before you heard the boom, you saw nothing, you heard nothing, correct?
Right, right.
Thank you.
We have no other questions, Judge.
All right, at that time, I ordered Mr. Williams to step down from the stand, and his testimony was concluded. Mr. Kelly, you may leave. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 10 minutes to 11. We're going to take our morning break. Remember the admonition I've previously given you concerning your conduct. It's important that you be fair and attentive throughout the trial. Do not discuss this case amongst yourselves or with anyone else. This includes your family, friends, and the media. You must not post or read anything about this case on the internet or any electronic device, including your cell phones. Any such discussion, if discovered, could lead to a mistrial and would severely compromise the party's right to a fair trial. Do not permit anyone to discuss it with you or in your presence. Do not form or express an opinion until the case has finally been submitted to you. Put your notepads on the chairs upside down, juror number 2, whatever that is in your hand, leave it on the chair. You cannot take anything out of this courtroom. Upside down on the chair. And you'll be back in the jury room at 5 after 11.
All right, please.
In addition to the exhibits, but on page 11, line 9, question, the answer was whenever Stan would come over there,
Hold on, I don't have it now. I need a copy of it back. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
What's the page? I'm sorry.
Page 11, line 9 through 11.
So this must have happened before page 11, line. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
The transcript reads, whenever Stan would come over there, but he won't go no farther than that. Under that, there's a parentheses indicating. My recollection was he indicated on the board with the pointer and pointed to the sidewalk at Stan's house, so he never went farther
Okay.
than the sidewalk.
Do you want me to instruct the jury when they come back that that's what?
Without waiving any prior objections, I think, yes.
Okay. So I'll indicate. All right. So can you put up the picture? No, I think it's probably 12.
It's 12.
So put 12 on the for me on the yeah. Thank you. That thing. Thank you. All right, and then show me where you think Mr. Williams testified. Okay, there. All right. Mr. Quincy, Mr. D'Angelo, do you agree?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'll take the pointer. I'll show the jury now.
And then the other, and I appreciate Mr. Kelly's work, but his voice inflection on page 20, his enthusiastic yeah in response to at line 2.
Okay.
What's?
I will instruct the jury that they are to disregard any voice inflections by Mr. Kelly while reading the transcript.
What was the?
I don't know. I didn't.
Yeah, what was that?
I didn't notice anything particular, but I will give them a further instruction, especially because Mr. Hughley's testimony is getting ready to be read. Who's doing that? Great. Okay. No more reflections.
No reflections,
All right. Furthermore, I'm telling you, it has to be read verbatim, and I will stop every single time. I don't know what happened in the first 2 pages because I didn't have a copy, but I will need a copy of Mr. Hughley's transcript before we begin. I know it's hard, because we read and we miss words, but my understanding is it has to be read verbatim. Okay. All right, see you at 5 after. We're adjourned.